Hello all, welcome back to Consciousness Rising. As I say at the beginning of a lot of my videos, these videos are designed in a particular order, especially the Consciousness Rising ones. If you look at my channel, there's some other stuff on there as well. The From the Heart videos, which are more like blogs. Well, blogs are video blogs of the way I'm feeling at the time. I haven't felt like doing one of them for a while. I just want to crack on with this series. If you've never seen any of my work before, I strongly suggest you go back to episode 1 and start there, because they're designed in a particular way in order for you to sort of understand what's going on in the world. Mostly, you'll notice all of my videos, even up until this one and to a certain point, are going to be all about knowledge of self, because ultimately we have to free ourselves if we're going to have a free world. And most people are under so much conditioning, and we have to break free of that. But perhaps that's for another day. Episode 14, we are still looking at mind control, and I've been covering a few different forms of mind control. I'm not covering all of them because there's so many, but I'm trying to sort of cover the main big guns that sort of are at play in our world. And as I always say, the reason for that is knowledge is power. And if you know about mind control and these methodologies, you will not be able to be mind controlled anymore, because you will raise your consciousness to it and you will have deeper understanding within. Okay, so episode 14, here we go. Today we are talking about the 5 sense illusion. We come into this world in our physical bodies, and we are conditioned from day one that all there is our 5 senses: our sight, our hearing, our smell, our touch, our taste. This is something that really makes us only resonate with the physical shell and the physical world. It's not the truth of what we are. We are so much more than this. But if you think about your own lives, think about your schooling, think about the people you've come into contact with, you'll see that from a very early age, that's all we're ever taught, because people don't want to think outside the box, because that's frightening. And fear is one of the things that holds people back from understanding. So as I've said there, from very young, when we are very young, we are indoctrinated and conditioned into believing that we only have 5 senses. We are wrongly told that physical matter is primary in the universe, and that there is nothing outside of this limited perception. That is completely false, and in this presentation, I've got a couple of scientists who I really respect. In fact, some great minds and some great quotes to show you. But this is the truth. When you break us down to the real minuscule, you find that everything's made up of atoms. Now, when you break those down, because you can keep going and going and going, when you eventually break atoms down to a certain point, you realise that actually what they are is an energy vortex. So atoms are energy fields, right? Therefore, as atoms make up everything, and that means that everything is energy. So what we perceive as physical matter is just energy slowed down to a particular frequency. There are different frequencies, and your body and everything that you are and you think are physical, you can only perceive a certain frequency in your physical vessel, because you are energy slowed down so you can have that experience. So, that's science. That's not me just making it up. Dr. Joe Dispenza, you've heard me talk about him a lot. Absolutely brilliant. This is a quote from him. Scientists discovered the quantum when they were studying subatomic particles. They found that atoms, the building blocks of everything in the physical universe, are made up of a nucleus surrounded by a large field containing one or more electrons. This field is so large in comparison with the tiny electrons that it appears to be 99.9999% empty space. But the space isn't actually empty, it's made up of a vast array of energetic frequencies that make up an invisible, interconnected field of information. So everything in our universe, although it may appear to be solid, is actually 99.9999% energy. Think about that. This is what these videos are for. Think about your conditioning. Think about what he's just said there. And that, to me, should, inspire you to look at the world in a whole different aspect. The universe in a whole different aspect. There's so much more going on than what we perceive. 99.9999% energy. That means the physical part is tiny. Yet we're so focused on that. Brilliant. It's so interesting. But they don't want you to know all this, because when you realise what you truly are, which is an expression of the universe, and you can't be destroyed, that frees you from fear of death. It frees you from fear of everything. There is no death. Visible light. Okay, that's the visible light spectrum there on the left. You see that bit with the colours? That's the bit we see. The rest of it is what they know to be going on. There might even be more than that. We live in an infinite universe. We see only 4% of what is happening around us. Whilst on this planet, we are living in the visible spectrum of light. As I said, your light beingness is slowed down to a particular band, and that is that band there, the visible light spectrum. Just because we cannot see something does not mean it doesn't exist. When I was little, you would hear adults say, well, if you can't see it, it don't exist. Well, what about wind then? Wind is clearly a real thing because it causes havoc when it's blowing at 90 mile an hour. I remember the hurricane in Britain of 1987, the destruction it caused. Well, that was by an invisible force then. So how did that happen? Because I thought that didn't exist. It's not rocket science to think about all these things, but yeah, you'd often hear adults saying that. Well, if you can't see it, if I can't smell it, if I can't taste it, if I can't touch it, it don't exist. Absolute nonsense. They don't know what they're talking about. But then that's because they're indoctrinated too. Because the system of indoctrination is cyclical. The parents, unless you break out of it with the force of sheer willpower, you're going to be indoctrinated. And then you're going to indoctrinate your children, and then you get a race of zombies, which is where we are now anyway, pretty much. There are some people waking up, I don't want to be a doom and gloomer, but, just think about that. The wind, can't see that, yeah, it does exist. You as the broadcast, that's a really long word, I'm going to try it. Magnetoencephalography. See, I knew I'd screw that up. It's a big word, but basically it's a non-invasive technique for investigating human brain activity. And what they actually find is it uses magnetic instruments to read your thoughts without physically touching your head. Okay, it's round his head, but it's not actually touching his head. This alone proves your thoughts aren't even in your head. You're not even in the bloody body, really. Which I'll go on to talk about in a minute with Dr. Bruce Lipton. If you read the look, if you want to know all about this, there is a movement now where science is proving spirituality. They're coming together as one, and it's brilliant to see. Dr. Bruce Lipton's one guy, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Greg Braden. There's some other really good ones like Rupert Sheldrake. All this stuff is all readily available, but it's not pushed in the mainstream. Okay, you transmit, so your thoughts aren't in your head. You transmit back to the field. You'll hear me talk about the field a lot. The field, the universe, whatever you want to call it, God. It doesn't really matter. There is a field of energy, and you are part of it. Like the Force in Star Wars. What a beautiful allegory that was for, what life is. So you transmit back to the field. Consciousness is not in your head, but from the field that is transmitted into your physical vessel/body. Okay, you are a transmission picked up by the cell receptors in your head, in your body, which I'll go on to talk about in a minute. People have been saying it since time immemorial. The field is the sole governing agency of the particle. Albert Einstein. This stuff isn't even that hard to research, really, but it's been going on. People have known about it. Scientists like him, he's known about it. He knew physical matter wasn't primary. This is something I read years ago on Facebook ages ago. We live, just think about it, we live in an absolute infinite universe, which means we are expressions of infinite possibility. We are, how bizarre is it to me that we live in an infinite universe, yet most people can't see past their own noses? I read that years ago on Facebook, and I just think, it's so true. Most people, they're so indoctrinated, they just go to work, come home, go to bed, have their dinner, all these little physical things that we place so much attention on. We're so much more than that. If you think you're just here to live 70 years and then you die and then that's the end of it, wow, I feel sorry for you. There's so much more to life than that. Just think about the infiniteness of what surrounds you and but it doesn't surround you, it's inside you, The quantum you. If an atom is 99.99999% energy and 0.00001% physical substance, then we are more nothing than something. Isn't it ironic then that we keep all of our attention on the 0.00001% of reality that is physical? Are we missing something? Because they don't want us to know it. You know, they don't want us to know that we're infinite beings having a slight human experience here, you know? We're so much more than that. Again, another great quote from him. Read this man's books. They are fantastic. Read Dr. Lipton's books. They are fantastic. Don't just take the soundbite version, you know? Been thinking about that a lot lately. Don't get me wrong, it's nice to watch videos on YouTube and it's nice to watch this video, but I want to point you in the direction of these men's works because you'll get a bigger picture. You know, yeah, I'm breaking it down to just quotes of what they say in the books that I think has meaning to my video, but really, you need to read their books. They're so good. It gives you so much more understanding of how they come to these conclusions. This was an interesting fact I found. If you removed the empty space from the atoms of all people, so everyone on the planet, the entire human race would fit in the volume of one single sugar cube. Mad, isn't it? We're so bound by our thoughts on time and space, but we've got it wrong. You know, it's more complex than that. There he is, Dr. Bruce Lipton. The universe is one indivisible dynamic whole in which energy and matter are so deeply entangled it is impossible to consider them as independent elements. Brilliant quote. Again, read his books. Brilliant. Another one of his, this is what I was talking about before, about you being a transmission, okay? What he finds in his book, The Biology of Belief, and you know, read the book because you'll see how he comes to this conclusion. The cells, what cells actually are receptors that pick up transmissions from the field, the infinite consciousness that surrounds everything. As everyone has a different set of cells, in brackets antenna, everyone is receiving a different broadcast from the field. That's why you're individuals. No two people share the same cell receptors. But if that, you know, take that TV screen there, it's an old TV. That broadcast, you know, you used to tune it in, didn't you, back in the day? You used to tune into a broadcast. Well, that's what you are. You're a broadcast. When that physical box dies, the body, the TV, doesn't mean the broadcast is gone. The broadcast is infinite. You know, think about it like that. I really want this one to really make people think about what they truly are. And this is the last one, the great Nikola Tesla. If you wish to understand the universe, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. You know, think about it, guys. We've been sold a lie. We've been sold a lie since we were conditioned from birth because the people before us were sold a lie. But it's mad. You just have to have a bit of willpower and a bit of wanting to know. It all starts with wanting to know what everything's about. When I was a very young child, I always was extremely inquisitive. I wanted to know the reason of everything. And I've researched. I've done that work. I've had brilliant experiences. I've been involved in spirituality. And actually, this video is sort of a forefront, and I'll go on to talk hopefully one day about those spiritual experiences. But at the moment, I've got a very detailed route that these videos are taking, and I need to get to natural law. Once I get to natural law, my videos will become less structured, probably, but yeah, it's important that I lay this groundwork. But yeah, think of energy, frequency, and vibration. The physical part is the 0.0001%. Such a small part of everything. I hope this has inspired you, and take care, guys. See you in the next one.